Hello, Fish Faithful. I am Kurt Semder, and this is Marlins Daily on the Fan Arch Network. And yes, we have done it, everyone. We have made it through the All-Star break, and it is finally time for the second half of the season to begin. The Marlins will be in action later tonight, taking on the Brewers in Milwaukee. A lot to talk about when it comes to the second half of the season and what the Marlins are going to be facing, and we're going to get into that a little bit today. I want to start, though, with some news and some notes, though, right off the top from the All-Star break. And the big news on Thursday morning, the Marlins introducing their first draft pick, their first round pick, Jacob Lombard, the Miami native who has signed with the team. Great job by the front office getting that done. They signed the 14th overall pick, about a $5 million bonus, which they had to, they had to pay him. We said they were going to have to give him some money to get him to not continue playing going on to play in college. Rather, he had committed to the University of Miami, and they gave him just a couple of $100,000 under the slot for that where he was selected. And this is an exciting time for the Marlins, an exciting pick for them. Obviously, a local kid, as we mentioned before on the show, a Miami native, somebody who has followed the organization and somebody who really wants to be here. So it was very imperative that they, not just signed him, but when they made the choice that they were going to select him, they had to know that they were going to be able to do this, and they got it done. Lombard will likely start things off at single A ball, probably a few hours up the road in Jupiter. So good for him. He's going to be right here in Florida, at least to start his professional career, and hopefully he can continue that forward. And we'll see him at Lone Depot Park sooner rather than later. But this is a kid who's got a lot of talent. We've mentioned 30 home run, 30 steal potential. Hopefully cuts down on the strikeouts and keeps playing solid defense. If you put that all together, the Marlins may have a really good player here down the road. So great job by them signing their first round pick, getting it done. And again, he is in the fold quickly after the MLB draft. Really didn't take very long to get it done. The Marlins were very excited to introduce him. He was very excited to be there and excited to be part of the organization. So things getting off to a very good start for his professional career. And of course, we wish him the best of luck, and hopefully we're talking much more about him in the future here on Marlins Daily and with the team going forward. And talking about going forward and talking about what lies ahead, we talk about the fact the second half is starting, and we handed out some grades yesterday. But I wanted to talk a little bit now because we talked more about looking back and looking at what has taken place. Let's look forward into the future here, and let's look ahead to the second half. And I was thinking about who might be some X factors, who may be the keys to a successful second half for the Marlins. And I'm going to start on the offensive side here with the lineup, with the offense, with hitting. And I want to begin because I believe, with a lineup that has been overproducing at many positions, especially we talked about, Xavier Edwards and Otto Lopez and Joe Mack and these kind of guys. But the one guy I think holds the key to the lineup, the way it is currently comprised. Yes, they can make a trade at the deadline and add somebody, and that might change things up. But right now, I think the big guy who's got to step up is Kyle Stowers. He has got to have a big second half for this team. This is a guy who was an all-star last year and a fixture in the lineup, really stepped up his game. Whether it would be he hit 288, he hit 25 homers, 73 ribbies, 61 runs scored, 115 hits. I mean, these are really, really good numbers. And I think the Marlins were hoping that he was going to take that next step this year. And so far this season, yes, he got off to a slow start. The hamstring injury at the beginning of the year, for lack of a better term, hamstrung him at the start of the season. And he struggled in the beginning. He kind of started picking things up here in June and July along with the rest of the team, but the numbers are what they are. And he's hitting only 239 this season, about 50 points lower than he finished last season. That's not what you wanted to see from him. He's about halfway to his home run total from last year, halfway to his RBI total and runs and everything else. He's on pace there, but the batting average concerns me. The OBP is a little bit low. And, for Kyle, I wanted to say that, maybe it was something about making the position switch. You know, he played outfield most of the time. He went to first base during the course of this season. He's played 23 or 24 games at first base, and I was concerned maybe that he was focusing too much on his defense and making sure that he didn't make too many mistakes out there, and it was affecting him offensively. But then, taking a closer look at the numbers, he's been really, really good when he's played at first base when it comes to his stats at the plate. I mean, he's hitting 309. 7 of his 12 home runs, 21 of his 42 RBI have all come when he's playing first base. So maybe that's not it. Maybe it's just taken him a little bit longer to get used to the spot. But he is the kind of bat that if you put him in this lineup behind guys like Lopez and Edwards and Hicks and the kind of guys who are getting on base and he can drive them in, then you're looking at something that would really help this team in the stretch run. And he has shown that he has that kind of ability. He did it last year. No reason to think he can't get it done this year. I just think he needs to, take that next step like the organization was hoping he would do this season. And if he can get that done, then I think he can really help this lineup lengthen, can make them more dangerous, and that's what Miami's going to need when it comes to their offense. We talk about, what they could do with the trade deadline and how the corner infield spots are key. If Kyle can lock down first base and they can focus in other areas, I think that would be really, really helpful. So I'm looking at him to really step it up in the second half. He's a big X factor for this team on offense. Now, when we talk about pitching, now I'm going to stick at the starting rotation. And it'd be easy to say, look, the bullpen needs to continue to be better. Pete Fairbanks needs to improve. He needs to be more consistent as the team's closer. Yes, I agree with all of that. But I think you have to look at the starting rotation, and you have to look at the guys who are pitching around Sandy Alcantara, who's been just so great, and I think he's going to continue to be great in the second half. There's been no reason to think otherwise so far this season. But I think right now, you're going to know what you're going to get from him. You're not quite sure what you're going to get from Max Meyer and from Yuri Perez. Meyer has been so good in the first half of the season. 9-1, 2.58 ERA. These are great numbers, but the numbers that would concern you, and I think have the Marlins front office concerned as they get into their analytic head, as they usually do. 19 starts, 108 innings pitched. Those are both career highs, and we're only halfway through the season. So there is some concern and there is some fear anyway that perhaps there'll be a little bit of a letdown or a little bit of a slide in the second half. Perhaps the arm getting tired. Perhaps an injury creeps up. Now, if Max doesn't need to go 9-1. He doesn't need to finish the season 18-2. It'd be great if he did, but he doesn't need to do that. But he does need to continue to be effective. He needs to continue to pitch into the sixth inning of games. He needs to just continue to keep the team in a position to win. And if he can be dominant on top of that more often than not, then that's great. And that will help them big time. They won't have to go out there and get a frontline starter because they've already got him and Sandy. And as for Yuri Perez, look, he has stepped up big this season. Injuries have slowed him down a little bit. The numbers are probably not exactly what he would like, 7 losses and an ERA that is just under 4, but he's been very, very good, especially as of late. And he, like Max Meyer, is approaching, he has not quite gotten over his career highs yet, but he's going to get there soon. I think he's just about 10 innings or so away from hitting that max number. So he's another person that they're keeping an eye on and making sure he stays healthy. But he has some electric stuff, and he has some great talent and really could be a huge asset to this team as a number 3 starter, because you start looking at what the Miami can do in their rotation. If you can stack those guys 1, 2, 3, then you're not too concerned with what's going to happen behind them. You hope that you can add another starter at the deadline. Jansen Junk, as we mentioned, just came back from the injured list. But those 2 guys, if they can keep this going, then Miami really has something in their starting rotation, and they've got something that they can keep going, and something that they can look to stand by when they get into those big games late in the season. So if Meyer and Perez can step it up, the pitching will be fine, because I think the bullpen will be okay. I do think they're going to make an addition or 2. And these are the kind of players who picked it up in June and played really well when the team played really well. and they got to keep that going. So I think those are really the two big X factors on the pitching side when we talk about what's going to happen here in the second half. But when we talk about the second half and we talk about what's going on here, I think the biggest question that Marlins fans have outside of what's going to happen at the trade deadline, and we're going to spend a lot of time over the next couple of weeks talking about that as we make our way towards the deadline. But I think the biggest question that Marlins fans have right now is, will the Marlins make the playoffs? Look, as we sit here at the All-Star break, is now wrapping up and we're getting into the second half of the season, yes, Miami's sitting right there. They're in the last wild card spot. If the season ended today, they'd be in the playoffs. That is the reality of the situation. But I think a lot of people are focusing on the schedule. Those first half schedule was a little bit light. The second half schedule is a little bit tougher. And I think people should focus on that, rightfully so. I mean, it doesn't take a lot. You look at the schedule here. They got 6 games each left with the Braves and the Phillies, who are ahead of them, in the standings. By my calculations here, only about 13 or so of the remaining 65 games are against non-contenders, teams that are not really playing for a playoff spot. That's not a lot. So you're going to be facing a lot of teams that are playing for something, playing for the chance to be in October baseball. And that's something that you have to take into account here. But that being said, Miami feels like they should be playing in October baseball, so they feel like they're on that level. They've got 52 wins right now. They're 52-45, 65 games left, as I mentioned. And I think a lot of people that I've seen are kind of getting hung up on the win total, saying like, how many wins will it take for them to make it to the postseason? One of our viewers, friend of the show, Thomas Joseph, says that he was saying, one of his last comments, are we thinking 84 wins, could get a wild card berth? Because with the second half schedule, that could be a tall order. Well, 84 wins sounds like a lot. But when you actually look at it here, 84 wins, in order for Miami to win 84 wins for the rest of the season, they've just got to go one game under 500. If they go 32-33 the rest of the way, they will finish the season off with 84 wins. Now, will 84 wins get them a wild card spot? I don't know. But you're asking the team to go, if they go above 500, if they play 33-32, they win 85 games. That's not. I don't think that's asking a lot. You're asking the team to basically go 500 the rest of the way. And whether or not that's enough depends on the other teams. And I think that's where the big question lies when we talk about, will the Marlins make the playoffs? Because you look at the National League right now, and the way I'm looking at it, I think 5 of the 6 spots are probably not determined yet, but I think you can pretty much guess who's going to make it. I think the Braves and the Phillies are going to make the postseason. I think in the Central, the Cubs and Brewers seem to be ready to go, and they think they're going to make it. And then, of course, you have the Dodgers in the National League West. That's 5 spots right there that are seemingly probably claimed. And I think those teams will be there once we talk about the playoffs. So you basically are talking about 1 spot left. That's the spot the Marlins are in right now. So you have to ask yourself, are the Marlins better than the teams that they'll be contending with, the teams that they'll be going back and forth with in the standings for the remaining months of the season? Those teams, by my estimation, you got 4 teams there. Are the Marlins better than the Cardinals? Are they better than the Pirates? Are they better than the Diamondbacks? And are they better than the Padres? I mean, those are probably the 4 teams I would say are probably still think they're in contention and think they can get it done. And yes, there could be a run from one of these other teams below them, but those are the main teams. And when I look at St. Louis, I look at Pittsburgh, I look at Arizona, I look at San Diego, I think Miami's right there on the level with them. I mean, the way that they've been playing the last 6-7 weeks, I don't see why you can't say that. Now, any one of those 4 teams can go out there and make a big splash at the deadline and really improve their team and improve their chances, which is why I think Miami needs to be aggressive. But there's no reason to say that Miami can't be better than those 4 teams and make the playoffs. And what win total will it take to get there? I don't know. I don't know. We've seen teams get in with low win totals, lower than 85. But again, 85 wins is not outrageous right now with the start this team has in the first half. 52 wins already. So it's doable. It's doable for this team. And I think we're really going to find out a lot about them over these next 2 weeks leading up to the trade deadline, because everything I just talked about kind of blends together here. The Marlins have a very, very difficult start to the second half. 3 games in Milwaukee, 3 games against Houston, a team contending for an AL West title, 3 games at home against San Diego, and then 3 games at home against the Phillies. Those are 12 games against teams contending for the playoffs. A real measuring stick stretch for the Marlins to see just where they stack up in this race. And if they don't play well over these 12 games, if they go, 4-8 or something like that, or 5-7 even, but something to that degree, will the front office have second thoughts about what they do at the deadline? They've already come out and it seems like saying all the right things, that they're going to be buyers, but if they struggle out of the gate here, will they rethink that? So these games are big, and hopefully they're ready to go, and hopefully they know that they need to get off to a good start here in the second half with some tough competition ahead. There are only so many games against teams like the Mets, and there are only so many games against teams like the Royals on their schedule the rest of the way. I mean, even the Nationals are playing better, so I can't even say the Nationals games are gimmies. They could be very tough games for them. So, look, Marlins have the schedule ahead of them. The schedule is what the schedule is, and they got to play it, and they got to play well if they want to make the playoffs. It's as simple as that. It is as simple as that. Play the teams that are across from you, across the diamond, and get wins. Win series like you did the last 6 weeks, up until the last series of the first half, and good things will happen. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. And for Miami, they're putting out their best 3 pitchers to get right out of the gate, which is what I like to see. Sandy's going to take the ball here tonight, and then Max and Yuri, who I just mentioned, need to get off to good starts and have a good second half. They're going to finish things off they will take on Milwaukee, who lead the NL Central right now. Great test for them. We'll see how they're able to do in this one. I hope that the offense plays better than they did against Cleveland to wrap up the first half, and I hope the bullpen really turns a corner here and gets things done. But big series like we mentioned. We're going to be back here on Monday on Marlins Daily to break down everything that took place over the weekend against the Brewers and look ahead to the big series in Houston. But for now, though, we've got a lot more coming up here on Marlins Daily. I'm going to push the trivia question to next week because I want to give everybody the weekend to kind of think about it and go through it. Once again, go back through the archives and check out the shows earlier this week for this week's trivia question related to the All-Star Game. Want to know what you think? Keep the comments coming on YouTube. Keep the likes and subscribes coming. We love all of it. And I want to keep hearing from all of you. Love answering those questions right here on the show. So we'll see everybody on Monday here on Marlins Daily. Have a great weekend and enjoy the return of baseball.